Welcome, everybody, to All About Articulation, where we do a deeper dive into the articulation of some of your favorite action figures while glossing over things like sculpt, paint apps, character history, accessories. Because I suck at that. And there are already so many great reviews on YouTube who do that already, so I don't want to waste your time. Today, we are reviewing the Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Road Pig figure, Road Pig of the Dreadnoks, the subgroup, mercenary group of Cobra International in the aforementioned G.I. Joe IP line. Yeah, that's right. I have a deep nostalgia for Road Pig. As a kid, I had the 3 3/4 O-ring figure. At the time, I didn't even know who Road Pig was. I just thought he looked so badass. He was all jacked and muscular with like a giant cinder block hammer and his white spiked hair. He was awesome. And as a kid, I was so psyched to have that figure because he was so much bigger and they made him larger, more muscular than the other Joes. So he stood out immediately to me. And I was so psyched to have a classified version of him. And quite honestly, I wasn't bothered that they gave him a bit of a dad bod. There was a lot of criticism that he should have been more muscular. In the original iteration of Road Pig, he was a more jacked dude. You could clearly see a six-pack and defined muscles. But on this classified version, he's a bit thicker around the pooch. You know what I'm saying? He's got love handles. He looks like, you take all the armor off, he looks like any dad coaching Little League in any baseball field on a Saturday or a Sunday afternoon, anywhere across the country. So yeah, I wasn't really bothered. He has some extra weight around the waist, less defined six-pack, less defined muscles. But it all came down to what else? Articulation. And this Road Pig figure, unfortunately, doesn't really pass the muster. I know. I'm heartbroken too. This was my guy. This was absolutely my guy. He was one of my favorites, but alas, it just wasn't meant to be. Because Hasbro's going to Hasbro, am I right? One of the biggest problem that I have with this figure is, first of all, the price point. I mean, he's about $45. He's a deluxe figure, as Hasbro loves to do. Create 2-packs, 3-packs, deluxe, single packs, but deluxe, so they can upcharge you $30, $40, or sometimes more. He is a big boy, and we'll get to his measurements and his scaling later on in the video. Oh, and by the way, if you want to jump straight to the articulation portion of this video, there's a timestamp in the description below. But if you want to stick around and hear my spiel, please, feel free. So even though I'm halfway through my spiel at this point, he just feels so cheaply made, kinda. Like it feels like one of those Mattel wrestling figures that looks good, has got good size, but something about the joints, something about the plastic, and a lot about the articulation just doesn't meet the quality that this channel, that I personally as a collector would love to see in action figures. The torso feels so extremely loose and shoddily put together. Nothing articulates well. The legs, the hips, definitely not the torso abdomen. There's barely any neck and head articulation. I mean, he can't really look far that up, but we'll get to that in a bit. The shoulder pad piece hinders a lot of the shoulder articulation and the mobility, but it's not removable. If I don't know, I'm probably not going to keep this. All right, I'm probably either try to return it or sell it. And if I were to have kept it, I definitely would have cut that off there, and this entire shoulder pad piece, this football shoulder pads, would slide right off, and then you'd get a more unencumbered, articulated action figure. But as he stands now, he's just so hindered by this thing. Although it looks cool, though. Definitely looks really badass. But also, the shoulder piece to this piece here, they should have made this on a floating, some sort of floating mechanism. So it's 2 pieces connected by a thin piece of plastic connecting the chest piece to the shoulder pads, and therefore it could move up and down. and side to side and not hinder that right shoulder. But alas, they didn't do that. So yeah, the shoulder, this whole thing hinders a lot of articulation. But yeah, other than that, I mean, the biggest culprit of articulation hindrance is the abs. You just don't get any. This is, here he is standing in neutral position. All right, we got him at a side view, and let me just raise that arm up so you can see. Okay, this is him standing straight in neutral position, straight up. And here he is bending forward. That's it. There's no bend whatsoever. He could extend his back that far. You know, that would have been. This would have been nice if it was. Again, I do this all the time with action figures. If this was his ab crunch, I would have lived with it. This would have been perfect. Not perfect, but this would have been acceptable. I probably would have kept this figure. God knows I've kept figures that had less of an ab crunch than this, but he can't do that. He can ab crunch nothing, literally nothing, and he can extend his back. Again, ask yourself this. Stand up right now. Try to touch your toes. Try to arch your back. Which direction can you get more range and motion? Go out, walk into the street. Ask 10 people. Touch your toes, bend over, touch your toes, or bend backwards and look up in the sky. Where do you get more motion? It's always front. It's always forward ab crunch as opposed to backwards extension. I don't know why action figures, they keep doing this. They keep giving these figures more back extension than forward ab crunch. Why? Sorry for yelling at you guys. I just upgraded my microphones and I have no idea how loud that just came across. Okay, anyway, so yeah. Basically, my thoughts are not a great figure. I'm heartbroken because I love Road Pig, and he is just not a good figure. I haven't even gotten to his face sculpt yet. I mean, he just looks nothing like the old school Road Pig that they released back in the 80s. This guy, looks kind of like Dan Laurie, the actor, the dad from the Wonder Years. I'll put a picture up, hopefully, somewhere. I'll put a picture up somewhere over here, and you could do a side-by-side comparison. But he does not look like the Road Pig that I know and love. Some scaling, okay. He is a big boy. Here he is next to Marvel Legends Cable. Cable stands, according to lore, according to the internets, he stands about 6'8", and the figure, Road Pig, also Hasbro classified Marvel Legends, they stand exactly eye to eye, top of the head to the top of the head, nose to nose. They are as identical in height as you can possibly come up with. So they are the exact same height. So there's Road Pig standing next to Cable, standing next to the new Walmart exclusive hyper articulated after modification, of course, if you want to look at my other video. Venom. Oh, you know what? Let me move him back so you guys can see better. Is that better? That's better. Okay. We got the dog over here. Okay. And here he is next to the new G.I. Joe classified re-release on the retro carded backed Cobra Commander. Review of him soon to come. They're next to the Mezco. Oh, you know, why don't I take these guys out the way? Next to Cobra Commander. Next to the new Mezco King Conan. Okay. Next to the new Mafex or Mafex. You say Mafex. I say Mafex. Daredevil. This figure is absolutely stunning. Review pending. Review upcoming. And how about another big boy along the Mafex line? Here's the recently released Bane figure from Mafex. All right, and I got them all in a straight line per their toes, so no one's further or backward than the other figure. So this gives you a pretty good indication of how he scales. against some of the more recent released figures. Okay, now we've done all the scaling. He does come with a pit bull. The original Road Pig did not come with any animals. I don't believe. I'm almost positive he did not. And not only not even this pit bull. And I'm a dog lover, and I had a pit bull. And she passed away in the last few years, and I'm heartbroken. And I would have loved to have a pit bull action figure. But this pit bull doesn't even save this Road Pig. In fact, this pit bull's... all right, let me just do a quick articulation of this. For anybody of you who dog lovers, dog owners, you know that dogs, they're like... They could articulate in the most pretzel-y type of ways. I mean, it's not uncommon to see a dog like lying on the floor like this. They're completely like my dogs do this all the time, like lying on the floor, in the sun, just napping. But they're also supposed to curl like into like a ball like this, curl up into a donut, and you can't do that. And not just that, but anyone with a dog knows that they love to sniff on the ground, and this just looks awkward. There's only a very limited range of how to get this dog's head low. That's the lowest it can go, and that's the furthest down the head can maneuver. So he can only get down that far, which might seem like it's far, but it's supposed to be like this. I mean, anybody with a dog knows it's supposed to. Dogs, their movements are way more elastic than human beings are. Anyway, so not even a good articulated dog can save Road Pig because he's not that well articulated. So we'll just put the dog over there. All right, we'll get to the articulation. Oops. We'll get to the articulation. Okay, so he's got 2 points of articulation. 2 points of articulation in the neck. As I mentioned, it's not great. He can look up just that far, and look down that far. Again, there's lower neck and upper neck articulation, but you don't get much movement at each articulation point. Okay. He can hit a T-pose. Let's get to his shoulders. So he can hit a T-pose even with this big piece of armor, this football shoulder pads there. There are butterfly joints, as you can see, but they don't move very, very much, and it doesn't really add anything unique or noteworthy to the articulation. He's got a bicep swivel that goes all the way around. We know how that works. The arm itself can go all the way around. We know how that works, right? He's got a double jointed elbow that can hit a little less than 45. I would say that's about 70. And over here, likewise, he can hit about, this one here can hit a little bit more because I think you have this, what is this? This forearm piece here. It's hindering the articulation, although the forearm piece can be taken off. So let me do that off camera. There we go. So yeah, without the obstruction of the forearm piece, he can hit about 45. He's got double jointed elbows, pinless, and he's got the wrist articulation that swings all the way around. And for his two hands, these two trigger hands, they move in a adduction-abduction motion. So it's the motion that we do like with trigger finger hands for weapons holding. That's cool. He's got 2 points of articulation in his abdomen, one in the upper diaphragm, one in the lower waist. It does not crunch whatsoever. Okay, no crunching whatsoever. It just locks stiff, and he can move back that much, but he can twist all the way around, both the upper and lower. So you can do a lot of wacky twists. Yay! Okay, he's got drop down hips. that drop down that far. Do the drop down hips help articulation? Well, he could hit a split. Yay much. He could kick forward. Yay much. He can kick back a good amount before it starts swinging to the side. So if you look at it from a bird's eye view, he can just kick that far back. Because any further and it starts to externally rotate. But that's just a sculpt. And he's got a bicep. He's got a upper thigh swivel. All right, that goes all the way around. Double jointed knees. That's how close he can to get to kick his own butt. There's a boot swivel that goes all the way around. We like that. And there's the very typical Hasbro Marvel Legends / G.I. Joe classified ankle pivot. And this is how much he can. This is his Glenn Webb split, ladies and gentlemen. How far down you can go with both feet flat on the ground. Not bad, not bad. I mean, the articulation outside of the abs are pretty good. They're acceptable. It's just that, like I always say, the ab crunch, the central line, the central axis of articulation is of the utmost importance. So if you can't get him to hunch over and do any sort of pose like that, he just looks stiff and robotic. And that's a big no-no here at All About Articulation. So I cannot recommend him from an articulation standpoint. Nostalgia, posing, character, love of the character, notwithstanding, as a piece for articulation, he must go back to the store. Or I'll probably try to sell him loose. I don't know. But yeah, no room for him in the collection. Sorry, guys. Cannot recommend him. Okay. Goodbye.